Hey, my name's Reese. I'm not the kind of kid who had a life full of unicorns and rainbows, because my life had been very tough during my childhood due to a skin condition that I have. Acne. So, what causes acne is usually when hair follicles under the skin become clogged. It started when I was about 12 years of age. From my childhood up until the age of 12, my life was beautiful. It was all anyone could ever dreamt of. Until I started seeing pimples and zits all on my skin. My life changed from then, and everything was not going well at all. Firstly, my friends moved away from me because they said they were ashamed to be seen with someone who was full of disgusting zits on their face, and everywhere else my parents, at the time, 68, 64, started treating me like a child because they were so scared that I would be bullied everywhere I go. On the other hand, my sister was also making fun of me all the time. Yes, I have a sister who's 4 years younger than me, and she's always felt like she was not getting enough attention from my parents because they would always divert it, as I was vulnerable and disadvantaged due to my skin condition. Well, I still remember in high school when my sister shouted out in front of everyone that I look like a cheetah, and since then everyone's been calling me Cheetah Boy. Get me this, Cheetah Boy. Get me that, Cheetah Boy. I don't know if it's what she said that disappointed me or because it was my sister who shouted out loud somethings like that. That really made me so uncomfortable, and I felt like I was growing resentment towards her. Our parents tried by all means to make sure that we were peaceful by bringing us together and talking about the matter, but it did not make a difference. Because my sister said she does not care about someone who takes away all her attention. She said that she was only telling the truth because if someone's to look at me, then they will immediately think that I look like a cheetah. I hated her because she's my sister and someone who's a family, and they're not supposed to act like she did. There's no justification whatsoever for what she's done, and it continues until today. Mom and Dad told me not to mind her, and that she's still young and she did not know what she was doing. But trust me, I know my sister very well, and I know that she knew everything. She was conscious of everything that she was saying, and she meant every word. I did not want to talk to her for months because of what she did, and all she said to me as an apology was that I should chill out, and that I should stop overreacting because she was just joking, and that she was only trying to make the popular girls notice her so that she can be a part of their crew. That's not how you join a group. That's one thing for sure, not by gaslighting your own brother. The bullying had gone so bad that my parents decided it was best for us to move out of town and go somewhere else for a new, fresh start. But it did absolutely no difference, because it's not like I could hide the spots and the cracks on my face. I could tell that my parents were devastated because of the way their son was being treated. So, they started using all kinds of creams, everything that somebody would refer them to. We went from doctor to doctor as they were trying to find the perfect medication for the condition I have. Some medicines were starting to work, then just stopped. And some were of no use at all. They said it was chronic. To be honest, I feel like it was a curse. Sometimes my dad would sit outside and shed tears because he remembered how his mom was made fun of because of the same condition that I have. As much as he's trying to be strong for me, I feel like it's not working because I see through him, and it makes me sad to see that I'm the reason why he's always so sad and hopeless. In high school, when we were about to graduate, we had prom, and I had to go through something that keeps replaying all over again in my head, because it's something to remember, and not that it's a good thing, but it's something that hurt me badly and made me accept that I'm a monster. I've decided that I was not going to prom. I'd planned to stay at home until a girl from my class asked me to be her partner. I was surprised and overjoyed because I never scored when it comes to girls, as they were mostly all disgusted of how my skin looked. So, it felt really nice to know that someone who's not my parents actually liked me for who I am. Or so I thought. My parents spent so much just to pull it off, for me buying a brand new outfit and making sure that I was looking ready for the prom. She picked me up because she had a car and she was the leader of the famous girls' crew. The prom then started and it was going awesome, and then the time to announce the queen and king. The girl who was crowned queen was my date, and she also decided to make fun of me on stage. She called on to me and said that I looked like her new camouflage pants, and I did not deserve to even be called a human. I ran out of that hall, and I walked home. It was raining that night, and I was drenched by the time I reached my door. My parents asked me how I got so drenched, but I told them that I did not want to see anyone, and I did not feel like talking about it because it only brought me pain. It was after a few days that I decided to talk about it, and they learned that my sister was actually starting to hang out with the same girl who made fun of me in front of everyone. My sister and her friends was, planning to embarrass me in public, and they thought prom was the greatest opportunity. A video of me was circulating online, and it was all a nightmare, and I was fighting to wake up from it. So, let's go ahead and fast forward. I'm now about to complete my PhD in medicine. Yes, I'm trying to find a cure for acne. Although there is medication for it, it can't really cure the condition. You can only treat it, and it doesn't really, go away for good. I can't stand knowing that there's people out there who are being treated badly because of how they look. It really does hurt me badly. Update number 1. Hey guys, I'm back again, and it's been 2 years since my last update. I know. I'm sorry I haven't updated this post earlier. I guess there was just nothing to really talk about. And I was also very busy. As you know, being a doctor does take a lot of time. Anyways, my sister, she got married about 3 months ago, and I'm genuinely happy for her, although she embarrassed me in front of everyone as she usually does. You're probably wondering how it happened, right? Well, let me get to that. My sister came home and she was overjoyed as she announced that she was getting married. We were all happy for her, and I went out to buy a few bottles of champagne just to celebrate with her and the whole family. For the first time, my sister was actually showing genuine gratefulness, and I felt like I really did something nice for her. Although it was just a small get-together type party with our parents too, of course, and distant aunts, everybody was happy as it was going well. After the party, our distant aunt started asking when I was getting married. It affected my mood, man, because I was not thinking of any girl just because of what happened to me in high school days, where a girl actually made fun of me after inviting me to join her for the prom. Since then, I've never really had the courage to ask a girl out, if I'm being honest. Since my aunts asked me, everyone has now been pressuring me about getting married, and I could not express to them how they're making me feel because I'm not the kind of person who opens up to my parents or to older people. The wedding preparation started, and everybody was trying to make the wedding absolutely perfect. My sister, on the other hand, was so happy, and she did not even realize that I was there. I did not mind, honestly, because I was getting some peace and quiet because nobody was there to tease me or to make fun of how my face looked. I was finally having peace, and I did not feel vulnerable walking into the house from work. My sister's wedding day was getting closer and closer, and I waited for her to ask me for advice, or a favor at least, as her older brother, but it was like I was invisible to her until her wedding day came. They said their vows, and everything was perfect. When it was time for the pictures, we all gathered around to get ready for a picture, and my sister then yelled that I should not be included. She walked towards me and said that I would only ruin the picture with my ugly face. She did not even consider my feelings, and she threw them in my face again and again and again, and her husband agreed to it without even understanding what the heck she was saying. Well, the family tried to talk to her into letting it go, but she stood her ground, and she just decided that I could not be in her wedding pictures. Nothing could actually compare to the wound that she created inside of me. I felt like a spear pierced through my chest that day. I could not even recognize her, and I just wished I could be invisible to her, just like I was the months before her wedding. I left the venue, and Mom followed me. She told me not to mind what my sisters said, and I should just enjoy myself. What's there to enjoy, Mom? My own sister has me thrown into the deepest end of shame, and all you say to me is disregard it? You know what, Mom? You and Dad are the worst parents I've ever had. Firstly, you've never stood up against a bully for me. All you tell me is to not mind it. You would never understand what I've gone through, and I'm called names every single day, and I have to live with it because of the stupid genes that I inherited from you.
You can enjoy yourselves. I'm out of here."
That's what I said to my mom. As I walked towards my car, I had no idea how bad I've hurt her feelings with all the words that I've said. I had to release my devastation and anger on somebody, and she was unlucky, as she was the only one there. I regret every word that I said to her, each and every day from then on. Update number 2. A half year later. My sisters decided that she's moving in with her husband, and instead of them moving into Tommy's house, they decide that it's better if they move into our family house.
Because apparently it's large.
And because they want to have kids who will grow up with their grandparents also. Even though my sister has treated me like a monster, I've forgiven her, because it was dragging me down emotionally just to be full of hatred and hold grudges against people. It's not really my thing, so I decide to let it go and just move on with my life. My sister continues to do what she always does, which is trying to make my life a living hell. So, when they moved in together with her husband, she starts suggesting that my pictures should be off the family wall, because apparently I take away all the spark in the air. She said that it would be better if it was only her wedding pictures, and of course the pictures of her and her parents together, that should be hung on the wall, and pictures of me don't really matter, because apparently I'm not someone attractive. That was the moment when I was expecting my mother, for the first time ever, to actually stand up for me against my sister, but instead she agreed with her, and said that my sister is much, much younger, so we should just, do what she said. A few months later, my sister and her husband suggested that I should move out, because apparently they wanted to have children and they felt the skin condition that I have might be contagious, and I might also scare away her children, because she thinks I make it feel like there's a beast in the house around them, and it may turn into
a vampire.
That's really the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, honestly, because my sister is educated, apparently, and she's supposed to know that it's the kind of skin disease. It's not someone turning into
a zombie or whatever she's saying about me.
My mother, she agreed with both of them and came to talk to me about moving out. She said I'm now a mature little bird, so I should sprout some wings and fly away. So I should find a place of my own little nest. I've been trying to get myself to leave, but it's been hard because this is my home. I've dreamt of living there my whole life. My mother does not understand how much pain that she's causing me by always objecting to my opinions and always opposing me in everything. I've been breaking down lately, and I fear I might have to leave the hospital and go there due to stress. Update number 3. I had almost lost my life, and I'd given up the will to live, but it was until I found her. The thing is, that's when, one's been stigmatized their whole life, they become very emotional instead of strong, because everything that was said about them before, sorts of builds onto them. And because of the hate that I've been going through since childhood, up until this day has become a part of me, and it plays a big role in my life. It worsens when your own parents reject and you face everything else alone. It had come to a point where my mother demanded me to leave the house as my sister was not happy for me to live there. Mother said that I was welcome to visit any time I wanted, but what's the point of going to visit the same people who chased you out to fulfill another person's desire? That's really cruel of a mother and father to allow my sister just to step all over them, and they danced to her tune like they owed her something. She had started emotionally blackmailing them about how they've been upset her whole life because they were busy trying to make me feel like a perfect child when I was not. But anyways, what does not even matter? I found a small place of mine where I attempted to harm myself a couple of times, but I've not grown the strength to actually do so. Although I've resigned from the hospital, I strongly believe that there's people out there who need my help. Maybe that's why I cannot successfully do it. I know how painful it is to be alone in a world of 7 billion people. The nurses had started to think that I was unstable and that I could not work with patients anymore, but I think I can still save lives. I met a rare dime right by a gun shop, As I tried to find ways to harm my life, she looked at me and just everything changed since that day. One thing about me is that I never believed in God. Because of my condition, I thought, you know what, if there was a God, then he's the cruelest man because he watches his people go through so much damn pain and he does nothing about it. Every one of my thoughts and beliefs changed when I met
Aurora. She was a busy, winning soul.
and she came to talk to me about how great the Lord is. I listened carefully, and at some point tears started to flow, and instead of her laughing or walking away, she hugged me and just whispered,
"It's okay. God loves you no matter what."
The only way I could get to know her was if I started attending church with her, and it was very easy as she asked for my number to communicate more and also to be an ear to listen to if I needed someone to talk to. Although I was scared that she would hurt me just like the last girl in high school, I felt that I had to let myself go and just jump. We started spending more time together, and the more we did, the happier I became. My life has improved so much, and I've forgotten about my family and only think about my life with Aurora. Update number 4. It's been 2 years. These 2 years have been a test that I was willing to go through, as I have the most beautiful and most precious person by my side. After dating Aurora for a year, I decided I wanted to move to another level with her, and without hesitation she agreed. We got married about 6 months ago, and it was not the most beautiful of the most perfect, but it was memorable. The first problem was when Aurora told me to approach my parents about our wedding. She said that a wedding is not a wedding without the parents' blessings, and I'd refuse, but she was not willing to go forward with matrimony if I had not done it. I then approached Mom and Dad about it, and they were very happy for me.
"I'm so glad that you found yourself a bride. You deserve all the happiness coming to you. I am truly sorry for putting you out there alone. I neglect you, and I know that it was tough for you, just as it was for me," Mom and Dad said to me with tears filling their eyes.
I could not treat her badly or shout at her because I had changed. I was transformed into the man that I am today by Aurora and the God that we serve together. I forgave her instantly, and she went to announce the wedding to everybody else, and she also announced that Aurora and I were moving back into the family house.
She was overjoyed to see her son take such a big step.
The wedding preparations were going awesome, and when the day arrived, we were excited about it and the future that we would hold together. During the wedding, as it was time to make a toast, my sister stood up and started. "I've always loved princess stories and movies growing up. I just did not imagine that I would see one live. Just because the prince is a frog does not make you a princess. I feel sorry for poor Aurora
for deciding to spend the rest of her life with a frog.
Disgusting." As much as I was trying to be calm, I could not keep it in because that was top-tier disrespect. She could have done something else to disrespect me. Just as I was about to stand up, Aurora did instead. She said, "Little sister-in-law, I have a feeling that we're not going to get along so well. Do you know why? Darkness and light don't either. Poor Miss Perfect thinks my husband's ugly. Well, that's a shame because he's the most handsome man I've ever laid my eyes on. You're just envious of him because you could never have a pure soul like him. You know that everyone adores him and cherishes him, and you, on the other hand, you just try to be noticed. Please drink some water, stay hydrated, and mind your own little perfect business, miss. This is the last time you ever try to make my husband look bad. Do you hear that?" My sister was speechless, and her husband pulled her down to her chair and immediately just wanted to avoid being shamed and called names. I've never actually been stood up for, especially by a lady. I was certain at that point that she was heaven sent. My sister and her husband left, and the party continued, and as it was time for pictures, Aurora went inside to call Jennifer and her husband to join, but because they were embarrassed, they could not join us. They stayed in their room arguing about something. So, we moved back into the house after the honeymoon, and my sister was not happy about it at all. We then told the family that if they wanted us to live happily, then they would have to be around for a devotion every night and work on our relationship with God. My mother was happy that I was taking such a path. She said that I'm reminding her of her father and how much of a God-fearing man that he was. Anyways, I'll update you guys soon enough. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I have one final update I managed to find, and you're not going to believe this. It came out 7 years later. That's right, the OP was basically not posting anything for multiple years after comments were saying, what happened? Well, here it is, 7 years later, update number 5. It's been 7 years since my last update, and life has never been better. You see, after we moved into the family home, I learned that my sister has been trying to get pregnant, and after 3 years of trying, she succeeded. We'd already had our first daughter, and now we have 2 children. After my sister's child turned 2 years of age, she started noticing spots on her daughter. They were not going away, and she was getting worried. She then learned that her child had acne. She could not deal with it, and so she blamed it on me. She said that it's the reason she did not want to have kids with me around the house because I would transmit it to the children. I then asked her why my children were fine then if I transmitted it to her child. She could not answer that because she knew deep down that it was not my fault her daughter had acne. After 2 years of blaming me and noticing that I was getting better physically, my sister decided to approach me to ask for help. She knew that if anybody was going to help her daughter, it was going to be me because I've gone through everything that her daughter was going to go through because I've already been there, done that, got a t-shirt. She wanted me to help her emotionally and prepare her for stigmatization, of course, bullying. Jennifer expected me to refuse to help her daughter because of what she did to me her whole life, but instead I decided to help her and the kid. She then realized that she's been the problem the whole time, and she knelt down before me and broke into tears as she apologized for being whack. Mother was very happy that my sister had realized her mistakes and she was willing to own up to them. I told her to stand up and told her that I would need space and time. Although I've already forgiven her because it'd given me peace at heart, and I just wanted to punish her a little. I could not hold the act as long as I thought, and so I told her that she had gotten my forgiveness. She's not been able to make peace with the fact that I've just forgiven her, and at times she thought I was just pretending as if I was planning something against her. But I've become a man of Christ, and in him I find peace and refuge. I have also gone back to work as my wife convinced me how many souls needed me to save. And she was right, because when I told everyone that I was reopening my office at the hospital, they were overjoyed. They said that they looked forward to me coming back, as I did have a lot saved when I got all those lives saved. And they said that I was being the nicest doctor, and I could not believe how the blessings of someone can flow into someone else's life and change for the better. Gosh, I'm so grateful. I've come to the end of my story, and I hope you enjoyed this journey.